Managing a modern supply chain often feels like a constant battle against two opposing forces. I am Amitkumar Shami, and we are going to outline how to resolve that tension. The baseline operating environment for most organizations relies heavily on fragmented, spreadsheet-dependent planning workflows. Relying on these disconnected workflows creates a specific systemic failure known as the visibility paradox. In a physical facility, this paradox manifests as simultaneous stockouts delaying critical customer orders right down the hall from massive overstocks of excess inventory. The structural cause of this split reality is limited integration. Operating data exists in isolated silos, completely disconnected from cross-functional teams. Financially, maintaining these silos heavily increases the pressure on working capital, as funds are unnecessarily tied up in stagnant stock. Operationally, the failure to clear these bottlenecks severely damages customer service continuity. Fixing this requires a distinct operational shift. We must move away from manual, annual budget-driven planning. The required replacement is a continuous, 24-month rolling demand plan. Surviving the pressures of modern logistics means abandoning fragmented tools. We are implementing a centrally integrated operating model to lock in scalable growth readiness and secure optimized working capital efficiency. The primary driver of wasted working capital is the practice of treating all products within a portfolio with the exact same inventory strategy. Eliminating that waste begins with the first pillar of our new operating model, strategic portfolio segmentation. This graph maps the dual metrics required to accurately score products. The vertical axis measures gross profit contribution, while the horizontal tracks demand variability. Combining these generates a 9-box optimization matrix, mapping profitability against predictability. Top-tier AX items in the top left quadrant are highly profitable and predictable, requiring continuous replenishment. High-risk items in the top right are profitable but erratic, demanding safety stock buffers and executive oversight. Categorizing the catalog this way directly prevents us from over-allocating capital to stable, low-profit items that do not require heavy inventory buffers. Completing this strict portfolio segmentation is the mandatory prerequisite. Without it, daily tracking cannot yield any actionable value. Once the static portfolio is accurately segmented, functional teams require a daily lens to monitor performance. This capability is delivered by Pillar 2, the Integrated Control Tower. The central purpose of this tower is to shift organizational focus from reactive reporting to predictive tracking over a rolling 24-month horizon. This centralized dashboard visualization highlights the specific metric used to identify regional imbalances, SKU-level stock cover across all active global markets. The system triggers automated alerts to flag immediate inventory expiry risks based on this live coverage data. Simultaneously, secondary indicators flag logistical supply delays, locating specific bottlenecks in the transport network. The operational advantage of centralized alerting is time. It allows cross-functional teams to identify and address bottlenecks early, resolving disruptions before they impact the market. Real-time data resolves these conflicts immediately, replacing the days previously lost to manually reconciling disconnected spreadsheets. However, real-time visibility is useless if there is no strict governance framework in place to force action on those insights. To execute our data insights, we establish Pillar 3, Executive Governance. This diagram outlines the 3-tiered governance hierarchy built to manage daily decision-making. At the base, the monthly Sales and Operations Planning Review manages all core operational balancing. The middle tier is the Service Council, an escalation point strictly dedicated to handling critical material shortages. The top tier is Executive Escalation, reserved exclusively for major supply disruptions and heavy financial exposure. Implementing this exact hierarchy ensures that our meetings result in binding, structural decisions rather than passive status updates. To power this governance hierarchy, we follow a practical monthly engine called the Integrated Planning Cycle. This flowchart tracks the process. Step 1 begins with the commercial team submitting regional forecasts directly into the central ERP by the 5th working day. In Step 2, supply planning conducts exception reviews and optimizes replenishment based solely on actual physical capacity. Procurement then manages supplier collaboration. And finally, finance monitors working capital to close the cycle and prepare for the restart. This rigid, sequenced cycle forces absolute cross-functional alignment. It mandates that the entire organization makes decisions from a single, unified set of numbers. Establishing this model is a mandatory structural shift, and it requires a multi-year effort to implement correctly. This maps a 3-phase rollout over 24 months. Phase 1 stabilizes the system for 6 months, establishing forecast cadences and inventory transparency. Phase 2 integrates segmentation and formalizes governance through month 12. Phase 3 optimizes the system, achieving predictive analytics and digital twin readiness. Rushing the initial stabilization period or attempting to skip phases will cause the entire transformation architecture to collapse. When executed correctly, the internal financial returns are substantial: better working capital utilization, lower carrying costs, and drastically reduced expiry losses. Externally, this translates to improved product availability, stronger market confidence, and a scalable readiness for growth. Distribute the Phase 1 timeline to your teams today and schedule the baseline assessment meeting immediately. This provides the internal structure required to maintain operational stability as the business scales.